secret is out. I'm a Gen Zer. For those who don't know, I am part of the Gen Z generation. And it's funny because I think at first glance, people look at me and they think, yeah, she's Generation Z. And then I start talking and they're like, well, maybe she's a little bit older than what I think. No, I'm on the younger side, and I'm not ashamed to say it, but ageism, it works both ways, but that's not the conversation that we're having today. Not the conversation we're having today. What we're talking about is Gen Z and productivity. And I think I offer a unique perspective on this topic as someone who is Gen Z, but definitely a zillennial through and through, because I grew up with the millennials. I grew up listening to the music. I grew up watching the shows. I grew up in millennial culture, okay? I also, have great respect for those a part of Generation X, and I absolutely love the boomers. Love them all the way down. Much love for them. And so I say all of that to say I have great respect for each generation, and I really think that we have to start having a conversation, right, about what it means to have 4 and soon to be 5 generations in the same workplace, and how we allow our own experiences and our own thoughts about what the workplace should be like to impact the way that we are interacting with others in the workplace, especially those of a younger generation. Because whether you believe it or not, we were raised by you. We were raised by the millennials. We were raised by Generation X. We were raised by the boomers. We are products of you. But I really want to talk about Gen Z and productivity. That's the whole basis of this video because I've heard so many things. But for those who don't know me, I am Imani Adia, the founder of Soul 360 and the creator of the Limitless Method. And I help founders, leaders, and creatives just like you to align with their most limitless self. So let's get into it. Gen Z wants to be a part of the conversation. And so, yes, we're coming into workplaces and we are asking and we have an expectation of receiving. But that's in any relationship. It's a two-way street, right? And so when we're coming into the workplace and we're doing the work and we're learning, we want to be able to also put forth ideas to expand and to grow because we believe in the work that we are doing. And so we are asking, right, for more with also this thought of we're hoping to contribute more as well. We're also asking, right, for what about life-work balance, but really life-work integration and what it looks like to live your life fully. Because like I said earlier, we're products of you. We've seen you at the jobs 10, 20, 30 years and getting the short end of the stick. We see the way that you have had to make sacrifices that have not only affected you, but also your family members. We understand what it's like to always be on and working because we lived with parents who were always on and working. That is very much a reality for us. And so we're asked for not only you to reimagine, but also ourselves to reimagine of what could the workplace look like? What could the workplace look like if I still came up and showed up to work and did what I needed to do? What would it also look like for me to not only do my work, but also to have hobbies to enjoy, to have a family that I can actually show up for? What does that look like? And so it may seem like it is a great ask. It may look like, oh, they are looking to be lazy. No. What we're trying to do is we're trying to maximize at the highest level. We're trying to maximize our lives at the highest level. And it's something that you should want for us. Because as you look at all the sacrifices that you have had to make, you have to say to yourself, right, I want my child to be better. I want this next generation to be better than me. And in some cases, being better means that we're going to do things differently from you. And it doesn't mean that what you did was wrong. It just means that it doesn't necessarily work for us. And that there's also an opportunity for us to grow and evolve and for things to look differently. And so instead of calling Gen Z lazy, instead of calling Gen Z the problem, I want you to sit down and really have a conversation with someone who's a part of Gen Z or a millennial and ask them about these different concepts, these different ideas that you don't truly understand because that's not your reality or that's not something that you want. And I want you to really sit down and have a conversation with them. I think that's what's missing from the workplace, is you having a conversation to just listen and learn about someone, to learn about the newcomer that's coming into the office, to get to know them and to know their desires, because a lot of companies are going to miss that. Because for some people, it's not necessarily about the pay, it's about the flexibility. For some people, it's not about the flexibility, it's definitely about the pay. And understanding that people have not only different needs, but different wants at this time is how companies are truly going to win. Another question to ask is, what is really the issue? And the issue is culture. Gen Z is coming in and they're shifting the culture. And you all, right, really anybody in the workplace is comfortable with how things have been ran because they've been ran for such a long time. But just because you're comfortable doesn't make it right. And I'm not saying what Gen Z is doing, coming into the office, shifting the culture makes it automatically right. I'm just asking that you keep an open mind and also understand when you're feeling uncomfortable. Because when you are feeling uncomfortable, your body's not going to like it. It's going to want to reject it. So Gen Z is bringing a different fire. They're bringing a different flair. And it's not something that you're used to. But like I said before, it really starts with having a conversation and really taking them under your wing. I think there is so much that we can learn from generations before us. Millennials, the boomers, the people who are part of X. There's so much that can be learned across all generations, but it's really about being willing to learn from each other and to really have just really truthful, vulnerable conversations. It also comes down to everyone getting a vision on what that culture can look like for all of us to exist together, but not only to simply exist, but to make sure that everyone feels as if they belong and can actually contribute to this culture. And I think it's one thing to say that we are a culture that appreciates ideas, but then you go into the office and you give your idea and it gets shot down time after time after time. And after a while, you're like, I don't know if I want to keep bringing up ideas. And if they're bringing an idea to you and you feel like it's not fully fleshed out, then that's a learning opportunity to say, hey, if you want your idea to be taken seriously, if you want your idea to be a go, you need to do X, Y, and Z. But those conversations aren't being had. Another question that I pose to you is, what do I see for the future? I have a younger brother who is actually part of Generation Alpha. He teeters on the line, but basically Generation Alpha. And there's so much that I'm able to learn from him. So much I'm able to learn just about new technologies. I'm like, whoa, didn't know that I could do this. And that's why I say it's so important for you to be having open conversations and to just have someone who's younger than you around, because they're so hip to like what's hip. You know what I mean? They're so in tune with what's really going on. And so having him at that level has been really helpful for me. I even think about my younger sister and her job. She brings ideas to the table all the time around just tools that they could be using that they haven't heard of. The world is changing, and the way for you to win, for your team to win, for your company to win, is to make sure that you are having a voice at each generation, because you can take what they all know to really elevate your company and really elevate your team. And I think that's how we also win in the future, not only in corporate, right, but literally in our families, having more open conversations and allowing where people have their strengths and they have their unique ways, especially to their generation, to be. And on top of that, making sure that we aren't judging someone or creating notions about someone just because they are a part of a certain generation. That's also going to be key. Those are my thoughts around Gen Z and productivity. Until next time, be limitless.